Viking exploration saga from Greenland to Vinland. Tonight, we're traveling back to a time when simply surviving a single day required more strength than most of us will ever need. Get comfortable, close your eyes, and let me tell you about live so difficult they'll make your own troubles seem beautifully simple. Welcome to Boring History for Sleep. The Outlaw's Exile. You are Erik the Red, banished from Iceland for killing a man in a property dispute, sailing west into the unknown Atlantic in 982 AD, with your family and loyal followers, seeking new lands, where you can establish settlements beyond the reach of Icelandic law and Norwegian royal authority. Your exile ship cuts through icy waters that have never known human presence, carrying livestock, tools, and supplies needed to survive in whatever lands you might discover. While your wife, Thjodhild, tends to your young sons Leif and Thorfinn, who will grow up in the wilderness you are about to explore. The navigation that guides your westward journey relies on sun positions, play star patterns, and the behavior of seabirds that indicate proximity to land. Knowledge passed down through generations of Norse explorers who have pushed the boundaries of the known world through courage, seamanship, and desperate necessity. Your discovery of Greenland reveals a vast island with fjords that remind you of Norway, but covered in ice that presents both challenges and opportunities for settlement, because the coastal areas provide enough grazing for livestock, while the interior remains locked in permanent winter. The first winter that you spend in Greenland tests every survival skill learned during decades of frontier life, because the extreme cold, limited daylight, and isolation from human contact create conditions that can drive men mad while killing those who lack the mental strength to endure months of darkness. Your exploration of Greenland's coastline reveals numerous fjords suitable for settlement, abundant wildlife that includes seals and whales essential for survival, and timber resources that provide building materials. Despite the harsh climate that makes agriculture nearly impossible, the settlement that you establish at Brattahlid becomes the foundation for Norse colonization of Greenland, demonstrating that determined families can survive in environments that would kill most Europeans, while creating communities that maintain Scandinavian culture in isolation from the homeland. Marketing of Greenland to potential colonists requires emphasizing the opportunities while downplaying the danger, because successful settlement depends on attracting families willing to abandon known comforts for uncertain prospects in a land where winter survival requires extraordinary preparation and cooperation. The return voyage to Iceland that you make after 3 years of exploration enables you to recruit additional settlers by describing Greenland's possibilities for land ownership, livestock raising, and independence from the political conflicts that plague more established territories. Your leadership of the Greenland settlement includes establishing legal codes that govern community behavior, organizing hunting expeditions that provide essential food resources, and maintaining trade relationships with Iceland that supply goods unavailable in the new territory. The religious conflicts that develop when your wife, Thjodhild, converts to Christianity create household tensions that reflect broader cultural changes sweeping through Scandinavia, because the new faith challenges traditional beliefs that have guided Norse society for centuries. Your efforts to maintain traditional Norse culture in Greenland include preserving seasonal festivals, maintaining storytelling traditions, and ensuring that children learn the skills necessary for survival in environments that demand self-reliance and community cooperation. The hunting expeditions that sustain Greenland settlements include seasonal walrus hunts that provide ivory for trade with Europe, seal hunting that supplies essential fats and proteins, and caribou hunting that provides meat and hides for clothing and shelter. Your establishment of trading relationships with Europe includes sending ships loaded with walrus ivory, seal oil, and exotic Arctic products that command high prices in European markets, while bringing back iron tools, grain, and manufactured goods unavailable in Greenland. The challenges of governing scattered settlements include mediating disputes between families living in isolation, coordinating defense against potential threats, and maintaining communication across vast distances that make unified political action nearly impossible. Your family relationships include managing conflicts between your Christian wife and traditional Norse beliefs, preparing your sons for leadership roles in the growing settlement, and maintaining household harmony despite the pressures of frontier life. The legacy that you create includes successful colonization that will last for centuries, exploration techniques that enable further westward expansion, and political traditions that provide governance for communities living beyond the reach of established authority. Your death in Greenland around 1003 AD marks the end of the founding era, but your descendants will continue the westward expansion that discovers North America while maintaining the settlements that you established through courage, determination, and exceptional leadership abilities. This exile existence demonstrates how personal disasters can become historical opportunities when individuals possess the skills, courage, and vision necessary to transform banishment into exploration that expands the boundaries of human knowledge and settlement. The Christian convert in the evolving settlement of Bratlid, you are Thjodhild Eriksdottir, Erik the Red's wife, whose conversion to Christianity creates the first religious tensions in Greenland, while establishing spiritual foundations that will influence the colony's development for generations. Your conversion to Christianity occurs through contact with Icelandic missionaries who arrive in Greenland carrying the new faith that is transforming Scandinavian society, offering spiritual comfort and moral guidance that contrasts sharply with traditional Norse beliefs about fate, war, and death. The small church that you have built near your family's homestead represents the first Christian structure in North. Poor America, a wooden building that serves as both worship space and symbol of religious change that challenges your husband's traditional beliefs. Your daily prayers include requests for family safety during dangerous hunting expeditions, divine guidance for community decisions, and spiritual strength to maintain faith in an environment where traditional gods seem more relevant to survival than Christian. Teachings about love and forgiveness, the religious instruction that you provide for your children includes teaching Christian moral principles while acknowledging that survival in Greenland requires skills and attitudes that may conflict with gentle Christian virtues about peace, charity, and turning the other cheek. Your bi-relationship with Erik becomes strained as he continues to honor Thor and Odin while you embrace Christ, creating household tensions that reflect broader cultural conflicts between traditional Norse religion and Christianity that is spreading throughout Scandinavia. The seasonal religious observances that you maintain include celebrating Christmas during the darkest months of winter, observing Easter as spring returns to Greenland, maintaining Christians, feast days that provide spiritual structure for community life. Your charitable activities include caring for sick community members, providing food for families during difficult periods, and offering spiritual comfort to women facing childbirth or family deaths in an environment where medical knowledge is limited and mortality rates are high. The missionary work that you support includes encouraging other women to embrace Christianity, teaching children Christian prayers and stories, and creating religious customs that adapt Christian practices to Greenland's unique cultural and environmental conditions. Your correspondence with Christian relatives in Iceland includes letters that describe religious life in Greenland while requesting books, religious items, and guidance about maintaining faith in isolation from established church structures and clerical authority. The cultural preservation that you attempt includes maintaining Christian traditions while adapting them to Norse social customs, creating hybrid religious practices that enable Christianity to survive in a community that depends on traditional survival skills. Your influence on community decisions includes advocating for Christian moral principles in legal disputes, promoting peaceful resolution of conflicts rather than violent retaliation, and encouraging cooperation and mutual assistance that reflects Christian teachings about community, responsibility. That the educational activities that you organize include teaching women and children to read using Christian texts, preserving religious knowledge through oral tradition, and creating informal schools that provide basic literacy while maintaining Christian instruction. Your family diplomacy includes mediating between your Christian beliefs and Erik's traditional practices, maintaining household harmony despite religious differences, and preparing your children for leadership roles in a community that will increasingly embrace Christianity. The religious architecture that you promote includes encouraging construction of additional churches, establishing Christian burial grounds, and creating religious spaces that serve growing Christian population while respecting traditional Norse cultural practices. Your legacy includes establishing Christianity as a permanent force in Greenland society creating religious traditions that will influence colonial development, and demonstrating how faith can provide stability and guidance in frontier conditions that test human endurance and moral courage. The spiritual guidance that you provide includes counseling families facing difficult decisions, offering comfort during times of loss and hardship, and maintaining religious practices that preserve Christian identity in isolation from European church structures and clerical support. Your death around 1018 AD marks the end of Greenland's founding religious era, but the Christian foundations that you established will continue to influence community development while providing spiritual framework for the challenges that face Norse colonies in North America. This Christian pioneer existence demonstrates how religious faith can provide moral guidance and spiritual strength during the difficult process of establishing new communities in environments that test both physical survival skills and cultural values. The navigator's discovery. You are Bjarni Herjolfsson, a Norse merchant whose accidental discovery of North America in 986 AD provides the first European sighting of the New World. Though your decision to return to Greenland without landing creates opportunities for others to claim the glory of exploration. Your trading voyage from Iceland to Greenland encounters unprecedented storms that drive your ship far off course, carrying you into waters that no European has ever seen, while testing your navigation skills and crew's courage in conditions that could easily result in permanent disappearance. The first land that you sight appears as a low, wooded coastline that differs dramatically from Greenland's mountainous, ice-covered terrain, creating excitement among your crew who suggest landing to explore this unknown territory and claim whatever wealth it might contain. Your decision to continue sailing north without landing reflects merchant priorities that value established trade relationships over risky exploration. Because your cargo is intended for specific customers in Greenland who depend on timely delivery of essential goods. The second landfall that you observe reveals a flat, wooded country that extends beyond the horizon, suggesting vast territories that could provide timber, furs, and other resources valuable for trade. But your commitment to reaching Greenland prevents detailed exploration. Your crew's growing frustration with missed opportunities includes complaints about refusing to investigate lands that might contain gold, silver, or other treasures, because Norse tradition rewards explorers who discover new territories with fame and wealth that exceed normal trading profit. The third coast that you encounter shows forested hills and rocky shores that remind you of Norway, creating strong temptation to land and explore. But your navigation calculations indicate that further delays could prevent reaching Greenland before winter storms make travel impossible. Your arrival in Greenland, with reports of unknown western lands, creates immediate interest among colonists who see exploration opportunities that could provide resources, land, and adventure that the harsh realities of Greenland life cannot offer. The detailed descriptions that you provide include information about coastlines, forests, and apparent climate conditions that suggest these new lands might be more hospitable than Greenland, while offering opportunities for settlement and resource exploitation. Your maps and navigation notes become invaluable resources for future explorers who use your observations to plan expeditions that will investigate the lands you discovered while seeking the wealth and glory that you declined to pursue. The reputation that you earn as a skilled navigator includes recognition for seamanship that enabled survival in unknown waters, navigational expertise that provided accurate observations of new territories, and professional integrity that placed trading obligations above personal opportunity. Your trading business continues to prosper as you maintain regular voyages between Iceland and Greenland, providing essential services that sustain colonial life while your discovery reports inspire others to attempt westward exploration. The regret that you occasionally feel about missed opportunities includes wondering what treasures or territories you might have discovered through more aggressive exploration. But your merchant instincts recognize that certain profits exceed uncertain adventures. Your family relationships include sharing exploration stories with children who may inherit both trading business and adventurous spirit, while your wife manages household affairs that provide stability during long voyages and dangerous trading expeditions. The influence that your discovery has on subsequent exploration includes inspiring Leif Erikson's voyage to Vinland, providing navigational guidance for future expeditions, and demonstrating that systematic exploration can reveal new lands beyond the known boundaries of European civilization. Your old age includes serving as advisor to younger explorers who seek guidance, boat navigation, weather patterns, mend the challenges of long distance, voyaging in waters that remain dangerous and unpredictable, despite growing knowledge of Western territories. The historical significance that your discovery achieves includes providing the first documented European contact with North America, establishing navigational precedents that enable future exploration, and demonstrating Norse seamanship capabilities that make transatlantic voyaging possible. Your death in Greenland around 1025 AD concludes a career that combines successful trading with accidental discovery, showing how commercial voyaging can lead to historical achievements that exceed the original intentions of practical businessmen seeking profit rather than glory. This navigator existence illustrates how exploration often results from practical necessities rather than deliberate adventure, demonstrating that historical discoveries can emerge from commercial activities when skilled individuals encounter unexpected opportunities. The lucky explorer. You are Leif Erikson, son of Erik the Red, whose voyage to investigate Bjarni's discoveries in 1000 AD results in the first documented European landing in North America, earning you the nickname Leif the Lucky, for achievements that combine skilled seamanship with fortunate circumstances. Your preparation for the westward voyage includes purchasing Bjarni's ship, recruiting a crew of 35 experienced sailors, and gathering supplies for extended exploration that may last months while providing opportunities for wealth, fame, and territorial discovery. The departure from Greenland occurs during optimal sailing season, with favorable winds and clear weather that demonstrate the divine favor that Norse explorers believe essential for successful voyages into unknown waters, where navigation errors can result in permanent disappearance. Your first landfall reveals a barren, rocky coast that offers no obvious resources or settlement opportunities, prompting you to name this territory Helgeland, Flat Stone Land, before continuing south in search of more promising territories for exploration and possible colonization. The second coast that you encounter shows extensive forests of deciduous trees that could provide valuable timber for Greenland settlements, leading you to name this region Markland Forest Land, while noting its potential for future resource exploitation and trading opportunities. Your third discovery reveals a land bit of mild climate, fertile soil, and abundant wildlife that includes salmon runs, wild grapes, and grazing areas suitable for livestock, prompting you to name this territory Vinland Wineland, and establish temporary settlement for extended exploration. The winter settlement that you build at Leif Erikson includes longhouses that provide shelter for your crew, storage facilities, turn for supplies and trade goods, and defensive positions that protect against potential threats from unknown indigenous populations that might inhabit these territories. Your exploration of Vinland reveals extensive forests, fertile valleys, and moderate climate conditions that suggest this territory could support permanent Norse settlement, while providing resources that would enhance Greenland's economy and colonial development. The encounter with indigenous peoples that you call Skrallings creates opportunities for trade and cultural exchange, but also demonstrates that these lands are inhabited by populations that possess their own territorial claims and may resist European colonization. Attempts your trading activities include exchanging Norse manufactured goods for furs, exotic foods, and local products that could be valuable in Greenland market, while gathering information about indigenous societies and territorial boundaries that might affect future settlement attempts. The decision to return to Greenland after one winter reflects practical considerations about crew welfare, supply limitations, and the need to report discoveries that could inspire additional exploration while avoiding extended conflict with indigenous populations. Your triumphant return to Greenland includes bringing valuable timber, detailed maps of new territories, and reports that inspire additional exploration, while establishing your reputation as a successful explorer who has expanded the boundaries of Norse knowledge and territorial claims. The promotion of Vinland settlement includes encouraging additional colonists to participate in permanent settlement attempts, providing detailed information about resources and opportunities, and organizing supply systems that could sustain extended colonial development. Your later trading voyages include regular trips to Norway that promote Greenland products while gathering supplies and recruiting additional settlers for North American territories. Maintaining international connections that support colonial development and economic growth. The family responsibilities that you inherit include managing Erik's Greenland estates, maintaining leadership roles in colonial government, and preparing younger relatives for continued exploration and territorial development that extends Norse influence in North America. Your conversion to Christianity reflects broader cultural changes in Scandinavian society, demonstrating how religious transformation accompanies territorial expansion, while providing spiritual framework for colonial development and indigenous relations. The political leadership that you provide includes mediating disputes between Greenland settlers, organizing community defense against potential threats, and maintaining diplomatic relationships with Iceland and Norway that support colonial interests and economic development. Your legacy includes establishing permanent Norse presence, in North America, providing detailed knowledge that enables future exploration, and demonstrating that systematic colonization can succeed when supported by adequate resources and skilled leadership. The death that eventually claims you around 1020 AD ends a career that combines successful exploration with effective leadership, showing how individual achievement can create historical opportunities that influence regional development and international understanding. This explorer existence demonstrates how curiosity, skilled seamanship, and favorable circumstances can combine to create historical achievements that expand human knowledge, while establishing foundations for future development and cultural exchange. The warrior woman. You are Freydis Eriksdottir, daughter of Erik the Red and half-sister to Leif Erikson, whose expedition to Vinland in 1004 AD demonstrates both the opportunities and dangers of North American exploration, while revealing the fierce determination that enables Norse women to succeed in male-dominated frontier societies. Your motivation for organizing a Vinland expedition includes seeking personal wealth and glory that can establish your independence from family obligations, pursuing opportunities for territorial acquisition that could provide economic foundation for future generations, and proving female capabilities in exploration and leadership. The partnership that you arrange with Helgi and Finnbogi, two Icelandic brothers, clues sharing expedition costs and potential profits, while maintaining separate crews and settlement, areas that prevent conflicts over territory and resources that could undermine colonial success. Your crew selection includes choosing warriors, bond craftsmen, who respect female leadership while possessing skills necessary for successful exploration, including navigation, construction, hunting, and defense capabilities that enable survival in unknown territories with potential indigenous opposition. The supplies that you gather for the expedition include weapons and armor for defense against hostile forces, tools and materials for construction, craft production, and trade goods that could be exchanged with indigenous peoples for furs, food, and local products. Your arrival at Leif Erikson reveals that previous Norse explorers have established basic settlement infrastructure, providing foundations for expanded colonization, while demonstrating that systematic development can create permanent European presence in North American territories. The conflicts that develop with your Icelandic partners include disputes over territorial boundaries, resource allocation, and leadership authority that reflect broader tensions between family-based loyalty and business. Partnerships that may not survive the pressures of frontier life. Your leadership during indigenous attacks includes organizing defensive operations, coordinating counterattacks, by and maintaining crew morale during military actions that demonstrate both the opportunities and dangers of North American colonization in territories inhabited by potentially hostile populations. The trading relationships that you establish with local indigenous groups include exchanging manufactured goods for furs and exotic products, gathering information about territorial boundaries and resource availability, and building diplomatic connections that could support future colonial development. Your pregnancy during the expedition creates additional challenges for leadership and exploration, because frontier conditions present dangers to both maternal and child health, while requiring continued involvement in activities that may not be compatible with pregnancy and childbirth. The birth of your son in Vinland represents the first European child born in North America, creating historical significance while demonstrating that permanent colonization requires family settlement rather than temporary male exploration that cannot establish lasting communities. The military actions that you lead against indigenous opponents include planning defensive strategies, coordinating weapons deployment, and maintaining crew discipline during combat operations that determine whether Norse settlement can survive indigenous resistance to European territorial claims. Your decision to eliminate the Icelandic partners reflects practical considerations about expedition success and personal survival, because conflicting leadership and resource competition could destroy colonial efforts, while creating vulnerabilities that indigenous enemies might exploit. The return voyage to Greenland includes transporting valuable cargo that demonstrates expedition success, managing crew members who have witnessed controversial leadership decisions, and preparing reports that will influence future exploration while protecting personal reputation. Your integration into Greenland society includes managing wealth acquired through exploration, maintaining family relationships despite controversial expedition decisions, and providing leadership for community activities that benefit from North American experience and resources. The influence that your expedition has on subsequent exploration includes providing detailed information about indigenous peoples and territorial conditions, demonstrating both opportunities and challenges of North American colonization, and establishing precedents for female leadership in frontier societies. Your family life includes raising your North American-born son while managing household responsibilities and community obligations that reflect both traditional female roles and exceptional achievements that distinguish you from conventional norms. Women The political activities that you engage in include participating in Greenland governance, mediating community disputes, and representing family interests in legal proceedings that affect colonial development and resource allocation between competing settlers. Your legacy includes demonstrating female capabilities in exploration and leadership, establishing precedents for family-based colonization, and providing practical knowledge that influences future attempts at permanent North American settlement by Norse and other European explorers. The death that eventually claims you around 1030 AD concludes a career that combines successful exploration with controversial leadership decisions, showing how individual determination can create historical achievements while revealing the moral complexities of frontier expansion. This warrior woman existence illustrates how exceptional individuals can transcend traditional gender limitations, while demonstrating that successful colonization requires leadership qualities that may conflict with conventional social expectations and moral standards. The Merchant Prince. You are Thorfinn Karlsefni, an Icelandic merchant whose wealth and ambition drive you to organize the largest Norse attempt at permanent North American colonization, leading 160 settlers to Vinland in 1009 AD, with plans to establish a lasting colony that could become the foundation for Norse expansion throughout the New World. Your commercial background includes successful trading operations throughout Scandinavia and the North Atlantic, accumulating wealth that enables financing of major colonization efforts while developing organizational skills necessary for managing complex expeditions involving multiple ships, large crews, and extensive supplies. The marriage alliance that you arrange with Gudrid Thorbjornadottir, widow of Leif Erikson's brother Thorstein, provides both personal happiness and political advantages that enhance your colonization efforts while connecting your enterprise to established exploration traditions and family networks. Your recruitment of colonists includes attracting skilled craftsmen, experienced farmers, and warrior settlers who can contribute to colonial development while providing the diverse capabilities necessary for establishing permanent communities in territories that present unknown challenges and opportunities. The supply organization that you coordinate includes gathering livestock for breeding programs, tools and equipment for construction and manufacturing, and trade goods for exchange with indigenous peoples, creating the material foundation for sufficient colonial development. Your fleet of 3 ships represents the largest Norse expedition. Terver attempted to North America, carrying colonists, supplies, and livestock necessary for permanent settlement, while demonstrating the scale of investment required for successful colonization of distant territories. The establishment of strengthened settlement includes constructing defensive fortifications, organizing agricultural activities, and developing craft production that could support colonial economy, while creating conditions for population growth and territorial expansion. Your exploration of surrounding territories includes mapping coastlines, identifying resource locations, and establishing trading relationships with indigenous peoples that could provide economic foundation for colonial development while gathering intelligence about potential threats and opportunities. The conflicts that develop with indigenous populations include armed confrontations over territorial boundaries, resource competition, and cultural misunderstandings that demonstrate the challenges of establishing European settlements in territories inhabited by established societies with different cultural values and economic systems. Your leadership during military actions includes organizing colonial defense, coordinating counterattacks against indigenous forces, and maintaining settler morale during periods of conflict that test both military capabilities and colonial resolve to maintain permanent settlement despite armed opposition. The trade relationships that you attempt to establish include exchanging manufactured goods for furs and exotic products. But cultural barriers and territorial disputes prevent development of stable commercial relationships that could support colonial economy and peaceful coexistence. Your wife, Gudrid's contributions to colonial development include managing household affairs, providing medical care for colonists, and maintaining cultural traditions that preserve Norse identity while adapting to North American conditions and challenges. The birth of your son, Snorri, in Vinland, represents another European child born in North America, demonstrating that family-based colonization can succeed while creating personal stakes in colonial success that motivate continued investment in permanent settlement efforts. The agricultural experiments that you conduct include testing European crops in North American soil, developing livestock breeding programs, and exploring indigenous agricultural techniques that could enhance colonial food production and economic sustainability. The decision to abandon Vinland after 3 years reflects practical assessment of colonization challenges, including indigenous resistance, supply difficulties, and the enormous costs of maintaining isolated settlements without adequate support from European home bases. Your return to Iceland includes transporting valuable cargo that demonstrates expedition achievements, managing colonists who have survived North American challenges, and providing detailed reports that influence future exploration while establishing your reputation as a skilled leader. The integration of your family into Icelandic society includes managing wealth acquired through exploration, maintaining social position despite colonial setbacks, and providing leadership for community activities that benefit from North American experience and international connections. Your later career includes continued trading activities throughout the North Atlantic, participation in Icelandic governance, and support for religious and cultural developments that reflect broader changes in Scandinavian society during the medieval period. The influence that your expedition has on subsequent exploration includes providing detailed information about colonization challenges, demonstrating both opportunities and limitations of North American settlement, and establishing precedents for large-scale colonization attempts. Your legacy includes leading the most ambitious Norse colonization effort in North America, providing valuable knowledge about indigenous peoples and territorial conditions, and demonstrating that successful colonization requires sustained investment and support that exceeded medieval capabilities. The death that eventually claims you around 1050 AD concludes a career that combined commercial success with exploration, achievement, showing how individual ambition and resources can create historical opportunities while revealing the practical limitations of medieval colonization efforts. This merchant prince existence illustrates how commercial wealth can fund historical enterprises while demonstrating that successful colonization requires more than financial resources and individual determination to overcome geographic, cultural, and logistical challenges. The Skald's testimony. You are Snorri Thorfinnsson, the first European born in North America, whose life spans the transition from active Norse exploration to the gradual abandonment of American territories, serving as living witness to the rise and fall of the most ambitious European colonization effort before Columbus. Your earliest memories include the wooden buildings of Stramford settlement, the sound of Norse spoken alongside indigenous languages, and the constant tension between colonists and native peoples that creates an atmosphere of uncertainty and potential violence that shapes your understanding of cultural contact. The return voyage to Iceland when you are 3 years old provides your first experience of oceanic travel, demonstrating the navigation skills and maritime culture that enable Norse expansion, while creating personal connections to both North American and European experiences that distinguish you from purely Icelandic contemporaries. Your education in Iceland includes learning traditional Norse literature, lore, and history. Also preserves unique memories of North American landscapes, indigenous peoples, and colonial experiences that provide material for storytelling that captivates audiences seeking adventure narratives and exotic information. The stories that tell about North American exploration include detailed descriptions of Vinland's resources, indigenous cultures, and colonial challenges that preserve historical information while entertaining listeners who seek knowledge about distant territories and exploration achievements. Your role as cultural preserver includes maintaining accurate memories of North American experiences, transmitting knowledge about indigenous peoples and territorial conditions, and providing historical perspective on Norse exploration that influences understanding of territorial possibilities and limitations. The marriage and family life that you establish in Iceland includes sharing American experiences with your wife, grown children, creating family traditions that preserve North American memories, and passing knowledge to descendants who may never have opportunities for similar exploration. Your participation in Icelandic governance includes contributing perspectives shaped by multicultural experiences, providing advice about exploration and colonization, and supporting policies that reflect understanding of both domestic and international political challenges. The trading activities that you engage in include utilizing knowledge of North American resources, maintaining connections with exploration veterans, and supporting commercial activities that benefit from international experience and geographic knowledge that distinguishes you from purely domestic merchants. Your religious activities include participating in Christian practices that reflect ongoing cultural transformation in Scandinavian society, while maintaining respect for traditional values and cultural practices that shaped your early experiences in North American colonial setting. The literary contributions that you make include preserving exploration narratives, documenting indigenous cultural practices, and creating historical records that maintain knowledge of Norse American activities for future generations who may attempt similar enterprises. Your influence on younger generations includes inspiring continued interest in exploration, providing practical knowledge about colonization challenges, and demonstrating that cultural contact requires skills and attitudes that transcend traditional Norse social categories and expectations. The political activities that you support include advocating for policies that could support future exploration, maintaining diplomatic relationships that preserve international connections, and contributing to decision-making processes that reflect understanding of both domestic and international political realities. Your family legacy includes establishing traditions that preserve North American experiences, creating educational opportunities for descendants, and maintaining cultural connections that bridge Norse and American experiences while adapting to changing political and social conditions. The historical testimony that you provide includes accurate accounts of exploration activities, detailed information about indigenous peoples and territorial conditions, and personal perspectives on colonization challenges that inform understanding of both achievements and limitations of Norse American enterprises. Your old age includes serving as advisor to those interested in exploration, preserving memories of colonial experiences, and maintaining cultural traditions that connect Icelandic society to broader international experiences, while adapting to changing political and religious conditions. The death that eventually claims you around 1080 AD concludes a life that spans the entire era of Norse American exploration, providing personal witness to historical developments, while demonstrating how individual experiences can preserve cultural memory and influence. Historical understanding. Your funeral includes recognition of unique life experiences, celebration of contributions to cultural preservation, and acknowledgement of historical significance that transcends individual achievement, while demonstrating the importance of personal testimony in maintaining historical knowledge. This witnessed existence illustrates how individual lives can span major historical transitions, while demonstrating that cultural memory depends on personal experiences and testimony that preserve knowledge of past achievements and challenges for future generations. The Greenland trader. You are Thjodhild, A Greenland-born merchant whose entire career involves trading between the Norse colonies and Europe, maintaining the economic connections that sustain North Atlantic settlements while witnessing the gradual decline of American exploration and the increasing challenges facing isolated Norse communities. Your birth in Greenland around 1015 AD makes you a member of the second generation of Norse colonists, growing up in settlements that have achieved stability while maintaining connections to both traditional Scandinavian culture and the unique challenges of Arctic colonial life. The trading expeditions that define your career include regular voyages to Iceland, Norway, and occasionally to continental Europe, transporting Greenland products like walrus ivory, seal oil, and polar bear furs that command premium prices in European markets, hungry for exotic goods. Your ship, inherited from your father and modified for Arctic conditions, represents sophisticated adaptation of Norse shipbuilding to polar navigation, incorporating features that enable safe travel through ice fields, while maintaining cargo capacity necessary for profitable long-distance trade. The crew that you employ includes experienced sailors familiar with Arctic conditions, skilled craftsmen who can perform ship repairs using local materials, and trusted associates who understand the commercial and diplomatic aspects of maintaining international trade relationships. Your knowledge of European markets includes understanding seasonal demand pattern, price fluctuations that affect profit margins, and political developments that influence trade policies and commercial opportunities throughout the North Atlantic economic system. The Greenland products that you export include walrus ivory that European craftsmen value for decorative work, seal oil that provides high-quality lighting fuel, and Arctic furs that demonstrate wealth and status among continental aristocracy and merchant classes. Your import activities include bringing European manufactured goods to Greenland, including iron tools essential for colonial survival, grain, and other foodstuffs that supplement local production, and luxury items that maintain cultural connections to European civilization. The seasonal trading cycle that structures your business includes summer voyages to European markets when sailing. Conditions permit oceanic travel. Winter periods devoted to accumulating trade goods and maintaining equipment. And spring preparations for the next trading season. Your family relationships include managing household affairs during long absences, maintaining marriage and child-rearing responsibilities despite dangerous trading voyages, and balancing commercial success with family obligations that provide stability and continuity. The political connections that you maintain include relationships with Icelandic officials who regulate trade, Norwegian royal representatives who control European markets, and Greenland community leaders who influence local policies affecting commercial activities and colonial development. Your observations of cultural changes include witnessing the gradual abandonment of North American territories, increasing Christian influence in Greenland society, and changing economic conditions that affect colonial viability and international trade. Relationships. The commercial innovations that you develop include improving ship design for Arctic conditions, creating more efficient trade routes, and establishing credit relationships that enable expansion of trading activities. Despite the challenges of long-distance commerce in harsh conditions, your role in colonial governance includes participating in community decision-making, representing merchant interests in legal proceedings, and contributing to policies that affect both local development and international relationships that sustain colonial economy. The challenges that you face include increasing competition from polluter trade routes, political instability in European markets, and climate changes that affect both Greenland production and navigation conditions throughout the North Atlantic region. Your diplomatic activities include mediating between Greenland communities and European authorities, maintaining relationships that preserve trading privileges, and representing colonial interests in negotiations that affect political and economic conditions. The intelligence gathering that you conduct includes monitoring European political developments, tracking market changes that affect trade opportunities, and maintaining communication networks that provide advance warning of conditions that could affect commercial success. Your retirement planning includes training younger family members in trading skills, establishing business relationships that will continue after your death, and accumulating wealth that will provide security for your family during changing political and economic conditions. The legacy that you create includes successful trading operations that sustain Greenland colonial economy, commercial relationships that connect Norse settlements to European markets, and practical knowledge that enables future generations to maintain economic viability. Your death around 1070 AD marks the end of the golden age of Greenland trade. Bow as political changes in Europe and climate deterioration in the North Atlantic begin to undermine the economic foundations that have sustained Norse colonial expansion and cultural development. This trader existence demonstrates how commercial activities maintain connections between distant settlements and established civilizations, while illustrating the economic foundations that enable colonial survival and the vulnerabilities that threaten isolated communities. Declima crisis. By the late 11th century, you are Magnus Erikson, a Greenland farmer whose family has worked the same land for 3 generations, but now faces the beginning of climate changes that will gradually make Norse agriculture impossible, while forcing adaptations that test the limits of colonial survival. Your farm at Gardar represents the best agricultural land in Greenland, with pastures that have supported livestock for decades and growing seasons that have enabled limited crop production. But recent seasons show disturbing patterns of shorter summers and longer winters that threaten agricultural viability. The livestock that your family depends on includes cattle, sheep, and goats that require extensive grazing areas and adequate winter feed. But changing climate conditions reduce pasture quality while extending feeding seasons that exhaust stored fodder reserves before spring growth resumes. Your daily routine includes constant monitoring of weather patterns, pasture conditions, and animal health, because marginal agricultural conditions mean that small changes in climate or management practices can determine the difference between family survival and starvation during harsh winters. The haymaking activities that consume summer months include cutting and storing fodder that must last through increasingly long winters, requiring careful timing to maximize quantity while ensuring adequate quality for animal nutrition during extended feeding periods. Your construction projects include building additional storage facilities for fodder and grain, expanding animal shelters that provide protection during severe weather, and maintaining buildings that must withstand increasingly harsh conditions without adequate supplies of construction materials. The hunting expeditions that supplement agricultural production include seasonal caribou hunting that provides meat and hides, seal hunting that supplies essential fats, and bird hunting that offers variety in diet, while providing materials for clothing and household goods. Your trading activities include exchanging agricultural products for manufactured goods, participating in community resource sharing that helps families survive difficult periods, and maintaining relationships with neighbors who face similar challenges from changing environmental conditions. The family planning that you must consider includes decisions about marriage and children that reflect uncertain economic prospects, inheritance arrangements that account for declining agricultural productivity, and educational priorities that prepare descendants for changing conditions. Your participation in community governance includes contributing to decisions about resource allocation, supporting policies that help families adapt to changing conditions, and maintaining social cooperation that enables collective survival during increasingly difficult circumstances. The religious activities that provide spiritual support include participating in Christian services that offer comfort during hardships, maintaining traditional practices that preserve cultural identity, and seeking divine guidance for decisions that affect family survival and community welfare. Your observations of environmental changes include documenting shorter growing seasons, increased frequency of severe storms, and changes in wildlife populations that affect both hunting opportunities and agricultural conditions throughout the Greenland settlements. The adaptation strategies that you develop include diversifying economic activities beyond pure agriculture, improving food preservation techniques that enable survival during extended winters, and maintaining flexibility in resource allocation that enables responses to unpredictable environmental changes. Your knowledge of traditional farming techniques includes understanding soil management practices that maximize productivity, crop rotation systems that maintain fertility, and livestock breeding programs that produce animals adapted to harsh conditions and limited feed resources. The community cooperation that becomes increasingly important includes sharing resources during voyage emergencies, coordinating hunting expeditions that require group effort, and maintaining mutual assistance networks that enable collective survival when individual families face insurmountable challenges. Your children's education includes teaching traditional skills while preparing them for changing conditions, emphasizing adaptability and resourcefulness that will enable survival in uncertain environmental circumstances, and maintaining cultural knowledge that preserves Norse identity despite colonial challenges. The storage systems that you maintain include underground caches that protect food supplies from extreme weather, preservation techniques that extend shelf life of perishable goods, and inventory management that ensures adequate supplies throughout extended winter seasons. Your relationship with church authorities includes participating in religious services that provide community cohesion, contributing to church maintenance that preserves cultural institutions, and seeking spiritual guidance that helps families cope with increasing hardships and uncertain futures. The seasonal preparation that structures your annual routine includes summer activities focused on resource, pentimation, autumn work devoted to preservation and storage, and winter planning that prepares for extended periods of survival on stored resources and limited economic activity. Your observations of social changes include documenting increasing emigration from Greenland, declining birth rates that reflect economic uncertainty, and changing marriage patterns that adapt to reduced agricultural prosperity and uncertain economic prospects. The technological innovations that you attempt include experimenting with new preservation techniques, adapting traditional tools to changing conditions, and developing construction methods that enable buildings to withstand increasingly severe weather. While using available materials efficiently, your political activities include advocating for policies that support agricultural families, participating in decision-making processes that affect resource allocation, and maintaining diplomatic relationships that preserve trade connections essential for colonial survival. The economic diversification that you pursue includes developing craft production that supplements agricultural income, maintaining hunting and fishing activities that provide alternative food sources, and participating in trade networks that connect Greenland settlements to European markets. Your legacy planning includes preparing property transfers that account for declining agricultural value, establishing family traditions that enable adaptation to changing conditions, and preserving cultural knowledge that maintains Norse identity despite environmental challenges. The death that eventually claims you around 1100 AD marks the end of the era when Greenland agriculture could sustain colonial population, as continued climate deterioration forces adaptations that will fundamentally alter Norse colonial society and economic foundation. This climate crisis existence demonstrates how environmental changes can undermine colonial foundations, while illustrating the human capacity for adaptation and the social cooperation necessary for survival during periods of fundamental ecological transformation. The last voyage. You are Thorfinn Karlsefni, son of Leif Erikson, whose expedition to Vinland in 1004 AD becomes the final serious Norse attempt to establish permanent settlement in North America. ending with your death in combat with indigenous peoples and the abandonment of American territories that will remain unexplored by Europeans for centuries. Your motivation for returning to Vinland includes family obligation to continue exploration, traditions, personal desire for glory and wealth that North American territories might provide, and practical assessment that successful colonization could enhance, family, prestige, and economic foundation. The expedition that you organize includes experienced sailors familiar with North American waters, skilled craftsmen capable of establishing settlement infrastructure, and warriors prepared for potential conflict with indigenous peoples who have demonstrated hostility to European presence. Your arrival at Leif reveals that previous Norse settlements have been abandoned, with buildings damaged by weather, banned possibly by indigenous attacks, requiring extensive repair work before the site can serve as base for renewed colonization efforts. The exploration that you conduct along the North American coast includes mapping new territories, identifying resource locations, and searching for suitable sites for permanent settlement that could support agricultural development and provide defensive advantages against potential enemies. Your encounters with indigenous peoples include initial peaceful contacts that enable trade and information exchange, but cultural misunderstandings and territorial disputes gradually escalate into armed conflicts that threaten expedition safety and colonial success. The skirmishes that develop include surprise attacks by indigenous warriors who view European presence as territorial threat, defensive actions by your crew that attempt to maintain settlement security, and escalating violence that demonstrates the fundamental incompatibility between Norse and indigenous territorial claims. Your leadership during military actions includes organizing defensive positions, coordinating counterattacks against indigenous forces, and maintaining crew morale during combat operations that reveal both the opportunities and dangers of North American colonization. The fatal encounter that ends your life occurs during a beach landing where indigenous forces ambush your crew, resulting in fierce combat that demonstrates both Norse fighting capabilities and indigenous determination to resist European territorial expansion and cultural intrusion. Your death by indigenous arrow creates immediate crisis for expedition leadership, forcing crew members to choose between continued exploration and immediate return to Greenland, ultimately resulting in abandonment of American territories that will not see European presence for centuries. The burial that your crew provides includes Norse funeral rites that honor warrior death while adapting to North American conditions, creating the first European grave in America while demonstrating cultural persistence. Despite geographic isolation and hostile circumstances, your crew's decision to abandon Vinland reflects practical assessment of colonization challenges, including indigenous resistance, supply difficulties, and leadership crisis that makes continued settlement impossible without reinforcements and resources unavailable from Greenland. The return voyage to Greenland includes transporting expedition survivors, valuable cargo that demonstrates American resources, and detailed reports about indigenous peoples and territorial conditions that influence future exploration decisions and colonial policies. The impact that your death has on Norse exploration includes discouraging future American expeditions, shifting colonial focus to Greenland development, and creating family trauma that affects subsequent exploration decisions and territorial expansion policies. Your legacy includes representing the final serious Norse attempt at American colonization, providing valuable knowledge about indigenous peoples and territorial conditions, and demonstrating both the potential and limitations of medieval European expansion into North America. The historical significance that your expedition achieves includes marking the end of Norse American exploration, establishing precedents for indigenous resistance to European colonization, and preserving knowledge that influences understanding of pre-Columbian contact between Europe and America. Your family's response to your death includes mourning that reflects both personal loss and end of exploration traditions, practical decisions about continuing American activities, and adaptation to changed circumstances that redirect family energies toward Greenland. Development. The cultural memory that preserves your achievements includes saga narratives that celebrate exploration, courage, while acknowledging colonial limitations, historical accounts that document American contact, and family traditions that maintain knowledge of exploration experiences. Your death around 1004 AD concludes the active phase of Norse American exploration, as subsequent expeditions focus on resource exploitation rather than permanent settlement, gradually abandoning territories that will remain unknown to Europeans until Columbus reached America. This final voyage existence demonstrates how individual death can alter historical trajectories, while illustrating the personal costs of exploration and the practical limitations that prevent successful colonization, despite courage, skill, pay, and determination. Epilogue. The Fading Dream. The Norse exploration of North America that begins with accidental discovery and briefly promises permanent European settlement gradually fades as climate change, indigenous resistance, and economic realities force abandonment of American territories that will remain isolated from European contact for nearly 5 centuries. The Greenland settlements that serve as launching points for American exploration face increasing challenges from climate deterioration that reduces agricultural productivity, limits navigation seasons, or enforces adaptations that redirect colonial energies from expansion to survival in increasingly hostile environments. The indigenous peoples who resist Norse colonization demonstrate sophisticated military capabilities and territorial determination that prevent European settlement while establishing patterns of resistance that will influence future colonial encounters throughout North America. The economic foundations that support Norse exploration prove inadequate for sustaining permanent American settlement because medieval transportation costs, limited European markets, and resource requirements exceed the capabilities of small colonial populations. operating without metropolitan support. The technological limitations that characterize medieval exploration include navigation methods that enable ocean crossing, but make reliable communication impossible, construction techniques that provide temporary shelter, but cannot create permanent infrastructure, and military capabilities that enable defense, but cannot ensure territorial control. The cultural factors that influence Norse colonization include religious changes that redirect social energies from exploration to spiritual development, political transformations that alter Scandinavian priorities, and economic opportunities that make European development more attractive than American expansion. The climate changes that begin during the medieval period create cooling trends that extend winter seasons, reduce agricultural productivity, and make North Atlantic navigation increasingly dangerous while forcing adaptations that consume resources that might otherwise support exploration and colonization. The political developments that affect Norse expansion include consolidation of Scandinavian kingdoms that redirect military resources from exploration to European conflicts, Christian influence that changes cultural priorities, and economic changes that make domestic development more profitable than distant colonization. The geographical challenges that limit Norse success include vast distances that make communication and resupply impossible, harsh climates that exceed European adaptation capabilities, and territorial scales that overwhelm small colonial populations, attempting to establish permanent settlements. The military factors that determine colonization outcomes include indigenous resistance that prevents European territorial control, limited Norse military resources that cannot sustain extended campaigns, and logistical problems that make defensive operations unsustainable in isolated American territories. That the economic realities that force abandonment of American territories include high transportation costs that make trade unprofitable, limited European demand for American products, and resource requirements that exceed colonial production capabilities and metropolitan support systems. The social dynamics that influence exploration outcomes include family obligations that compete with exploration activities, marriage patterns that tie individuals to European communities, style and cultural traditions that emphasize local development over distant expansion and territorial acquisition. The religious influences that shape colonial decisions include Christian emphasis on spiritual development over material expansion, church opposition to pagan exploration traditions, and missionary activities that redirect cultural energies from territorial conquest to spiritual development and religious observance. The technological stagnation that characterizes medieval Europe limits improvements in navigation, construction, and military capabilities that could support successful colonization, while creating dependencies on traditional methods that prove inadequate for American conditions and territorial requirements. The demographic limitations that affect Norse expansion include small population bases that cannot support extensive colonization, limited reproductive capacity that restricts population growth, planned social structures that concentrate resources in European development rather than American expansion, the cultural memory that preserves Norse-American achievements includes saga narratives that celebrate exploration courage while acknowledging colonial limitations, historical accounts that document contact experiences, by and family traditions that maintain knowledge despite practical abandonment of territorial claims. The historical significance that Norse exploration achieves includes demonstrating European capabilities for transoceanic travel, establishing precedents for indigenous resistance to colonization, and preserving knowledge that influences understanding of pre-Columbian contact between Europe and America. The legacy that Norse-American exploration creates includes technological innovations that enable later European expansion, cultural knowledge that influences subsequent colonial policies, and historical examples that demonstrate both the possibilities and limitations of medieval colonization efforts. The lessons that Norse experience provides include understanding that successful colonization requires sustained metropolitan support, recognition that indigenous resistance can prevent European territorial control, and awareness that climate and geography create challenges that exceed medieval technological capabilities. The transformation that concludes Norse-American involvement includes gradual abandonment of territorial claims, redirection of colonial energies toward Greenland development, and adaptation to changing circumstances that emphasize survival over expansion in increasingly challenging environmental conditions. This remarkable exploration saga demonstrates how individual courage and determination can expand human knowledge, power, and territorial boundaries, while illustrating the practical limitations that prevent successful colonization when technological, economic, and political conditions cannot support sustained expansion across vast distances and hostile environments.